Today is Tuesday, June 15th, and this is Headers and Footers, the brand new UEFA Euro 2020 show from the Toronto Star. I'm Brendan Dunlop. What a day. Match day one coming to a close with the most anticipated game of the group stage, France v Germany. All that firepower on both sides, and an own goal off of Mats Hummels was the deciding factor. Who would have taken that bet? It was the first time Germany have ever lost an opening match at the European Championships, and it's not going to get any easier for them as they've got Portugal coming up on Saturday. Luka Modric said that teams playing at home had an unfair advantage at Euro 2020. But look, Russia's lost, Denmark lost, although there needs to be an asterisk next to that. They shouldn't have even played that game. That's another story that I just don't have time for right now. Scotland lost. Yesterday was a very disappointing draw for Spain in Seville. Today, Germany lost in Munich and Hungary lost in Budapest. So much for that home advantage being unfair to the other sides. In Canada, we've seen a couple thousand fans at hockey games in Montreal. Seeing 61,000 strong in Budapest, that was a sight. And for much of that game, it seemed like it played exactly into the way Hungary wanted. Maybe that's why Fernando Santos went with two defensive midfielders. When I saw the team sheet, I thought, the Portuguese coach doesn't trust his own players. And that's been an argument that Portuguese supporters have thrown out on Twitter every single time Santos throws a team out. Doesn't seem like he trusts the attacking strengths of his side. And people also say, Ronaldo, he's 36. Look, I get it. In soccer circles, that is old. For humans, we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo here. Remember that he was the Serie A, the Italian Serie A's leading goal scorer with 29 goals for Juventus. If you bet on Ronaldo to break Michel Platini's all-time record, you were laughing when he cut around the Hungarian keeper in the 6-yard box to roll home his brace. With this tournament expanded to 24 teams, look, that 11-goal record, that may not stand for very long at all. But he's not done at Euro 2020, which is his 5th Euros, also a record. Ronaldo will always get the headlines no matter what's going on. That's what he wants as well. He's got his sights set on the international goals total, the international men's all-time goal-scoring record. He's just 3 goals shy of doing it. I think he does it here at Euro 2020. But as we saw on Tuesday, this Portuguese side isn't just Cristiano Ronaldo and 10 other dudes. Substitutes Rafa Silva and Renato Sanchez played a part in both goals for Ronaldo there. Fernando Santos may look at some other faces on his bench on Saturday as Portugal take on Germany. My guest tonight is someone that you've read in Sports Illustrated for years, and you can read on SI again this summer, American writer and author Grant Wahl. Grant, I've always enjoyed talking soccer with you over the years on multiple platforms. What's great to be on your podcast, Futbol with Grant Wahl, talking about my book last month, and now here you are on my Toronto Star show. So welcome.
Great to be here with you, Brandon.
What did you think about the match? We finally got a look at the group of death. A lot of people would argue that maybe a tournament doesn't really start until we actually see the group of death. And we saw the last 2 World Cup winners go head-to-head in what felt like a final, didn't it?
Yeah, just a real level of intensity to this game with France and Germany that was apparent there from the start. And, you know, it's interesting. I think back to the final, the World Cup in 2018, and I was doing American television for Fox. And after that game, Gus Hiddink, I was on the show with, he was so upset about France winning a World Cup by counterattacking. He thought it was like not a great use of France's talent. And yet we saw another example. And I actually argued with Gus Hiddink, which I probably had no right to be doing, by the way, given Gus's record as a manager and my lack of record as a manager. But somewhat similar today from France, 62% possession for Germany, 38% for France. Yet France created opportunities on the counter, had 2 wonderful goals that were disallowed, rightfully. But you know, the possibilities, the chances were there for France. You know, like I still don't think this is necessarily a dominant performance by any means from France. You can't be dominant when you have 38% possession and 1 shot on goal in the game. But they get the own goal. Created the pressure that led to it from Hummels. And, you know, I still feel like France on the overall run of play deserved to win this game. I think they're the best team in this tournament on paper, but I also thought Germany being at home would help. And you know, it didn't a heck of a lot in this game.
We've both had arguments on television with our friend Thomas Rongen. So you've got one up on me by having had a tactical argument with Gus Hiddink. And you've given me a lot of avenues to take this conversation. When I saw, we'll stick on France and Germany, but when I saw Fernando Santos's 11 against Hungary, I thought, why are you sending this team out with two defensive midfielders like you are the underdog? Now, Germany was the toughest test in this group for France. Do you think that perhaps Didier Deschamps was playing this as safe as possible because he was looking ahead to the other fixtures in the group?
I do think there's a sense of pragmatism that we're seeing in this group today, and also from some of the more established, best-known teams so far in the tournament. I thought the way England approached their first game against Croatia was very pragmatic. Like it made me happy, I guess, when the Dutch came out against Ukraine and they just, were toe to toe from the very start, back and forth. For a neutral, those are probably the most fun games to watch. And when you see teams that have as much talent as Portugal, as France, that maybe don't open the floodgates in a way that they're capable of, as a neutral, that can be frustrating. But Didier Deschamps has won a World Cup playing this way. Fernando Santos has won a Euro playing this way. And in the end, Portugal wears down Hungary, pulls away in that game, gets the 3 points they needed. And France got what they wanted, 3 points in Munich. And anytime you can say that against Germany, whether you're France or anybody, I think that's a good day's job at the office.
I was waiting for the VAR check before I sent the "I'm back" Karim Benzema tweet when he had his goal disallowed. But Karim Benzema being in the squad, I mean, this is just wild still. And to see him out there playing today for France and playing very well as he did for Real Madrid this season, you can understand why Didier Deschamps was intrigued to include him back in the squad. But for me, that just reeked of desperation, having Benzema in there. And I wonder if, the beef between Giroud and Mbappe, if perhaps having Benzema in there was Deschamps' distraction tool, knowing that maybe Kylian Mbappe has some longer standing issues with some of the veteran players in that French side. And as we know, when the French have infighting, the earlier that starts, the shorter their tournament usually is. So what have you made about all the change room talk for France?
Yeah, I mean, I think for France, it's big to get 3 points in this situation because we've gotten so used to seeing France either go very deep in these tournaments or just completely disintegrate in turmoil inside the team. And so everyone watches, every little thing that happens with a microscope inside France. We've been doing this for 20 years now, it seems like. And we saw the beginnings of that possibility when Giroud came out and complained about Mbappe not passing him the ball enough. And Mbappe was upset and said he was. And you don't want that heading into a major tournament, even if you're the world champion. And so I think this first game, we didn't see many subs overall from Deschamps, by the way. I think 2 in this entire game. We certainly didn't see Giroud come in. And they won a World Cup with Giroud as a very important player up front, not to be scoring goals, but to be setting up other guys. And he did a good job of it. But clearly that's not the approach that we're going to see this whole tournament from Deschamps. And we're going to see a lot of Karim Benzema. I was a little bummed. I thought it was a nice reward for him if he would have gotten that goal today. But I think we're going to see him a lot. I think he's going to get goals in this tournament. I think we're going to see a France that has probably a bit more of the ball in upcoming games, especially against Hungary, but maybe even against Portugal too.
You and I have both covered locker rooms, and you wrote a book, the Beckham Experiment, with some real, tell-all moments of what really goes on in the locker room. When I saw Benzema included, I thought, did Didier Deschamps have conversations with his leadership team before making this decision? And you reference Olivier Giroud and the work that he did 3 years ago. It's 3 years on now. And I think that Deschamps tactically may have looked at it and thought, well, I could get a lot of that out of Karim Benzema and perhaps a few more goals. So I'm going to go with that. I just feel like this has got to be a constant talking point in this room, and getting the win today and having Hungary next, which should be a win for France, I think is a really good situation and shakedown for Les Bleus.
Yeah, it is, because yes, it's still possible for third place teams in the group to advance, but it's also possible that you finish third and you don't advance. And right now, you look at Germany in a situation they may be in. It may be touch and go later on in this group, or even Portugal. Who knows? I mean, a lot can still happen. I always think it's interesting to hear about. Usually it happens much later after a tournament is over, sort of the real things that happen inside a locker room, right? A lot of times what comes out in the media in the moment, I learned this on my Beckham book, is certainly not complete about what's going on inside a team, but oftentimes it's just outright lies. And so if you can find things out that actually happened, I'd love to learn more about the interactions between Deschamps and Benzema. They talked sort of vaguely about having met and spoken to each other, but they haven't really said a heck of a lot about it. Who knows? Maybe there's like some reality film coming out that actually like has it on camera or something. You never know these days. But I think that would be a really interesting moment, because my sense is it's probably a little bit about Deschamps saying, I think you've served your time. I'm going to bring you back here, and I'm not going to be the man with the big ego.
Right. Well, what about Germany? Just a quick take on Germany moving forward then, because coming into this tournament, I think they carry the tag of, being a power, but this is a team that's very much in transition with some players that are very talented, but not a full squad of players that are coming off hugely impressive seasons. Timo Werner, now a newly crowned Champions League winner, but didn't see him in the starting 11. Kai Havertz, I thought, looked pretty good. What do you think Jogi Löw will do with Germany in these next two matches?
I'm interested to see some of the choices he makes, because Thomas Mueller and Mats Hummels were completely out of this squad for a long time, and so they're called back in. They start this game. I was a little disappointed that Mueller didn't seem to have the impact that you so often see him have for Bayern Munich, especially given the amount of possession that Germany had. Hummels, obviously, with the own goal, so not great from him. And I don't know whether to give him credit on that play against Mbappe, where like Mbappe just raced past him like Hummels was, stuck in the sand or something. And then he's recovered just enough at the end. And I'm not sure if that was a penalty or not. You certainly could have gotten the call. He got ball, but he also got Mbappe on the lunge. But he looked to me like a player, Hummels, that is too old to be playing against guys like Kylian Mbappe, to be honest. And I know you can bring a lot of experience and guile like Hummels does into situations like that, but I just don't know if you can trust him at the highest level anymore with the national team. But I don't want to be too down on Germany right now, because they face the best team in the world today. And the decisive factor in the game overall was an own goal. And so like, I would think if the German media is too hard on that team, that wouldn't be totally fair.
Well, they've been hard on Jogi Löw. Obviously, the lame duck coach label has been thrown around. But I mean, I thought the mind games were great. Putting Gnabry in there, that was totally to get in Hugo Lloris's head, having scored 4 goals on him in the Champions League just a couple seasons ago. So I thought that was excellent. Cristiano Ronaldo. 2 late goals in what ended up being a thrilling win for Portugal. But talk about change rooms. As that match played out, and just before Hungary had scored what looked like the opener that was called back when the offside flag went up, I had thought Portugal were beating themselves. You could see the anger on the pitch individually, and then it spread out to yelling at each other, and I just thought they were going to let it slip. If it was the pressure of 61,000 full stadium for the first time, or just the pressure knowing this was the game they needed to win, for Portugal's sake, thank goodness those goals came, and when it did, they showed their quality. But for a while there, it wasn't looking good for the Seleção.
I really felt like Hungary was going to get a point. From that game, or maybe even more. You talk about the goal that was chalked off. If you're a Portugal fan, despite the scoreline, I don't know if you come out of this game feeling, good teams, championship teams can win when they're not at their best. We know that old saw. Or this was not what I was expecting from Portugal overall, just in terms of performance against Hungary. I want to give credit to Hungary. They're without their star player, Szoboszlai, who's hurt. And, I thought got a better than expected performance out of that Hungarian team in front of a very vocal home crowd in Budapest. But yeah, like you said, a little pragmatic for me, overly pragmatic for me with the choices in central midfield.
Yes.
And, I didn't feel like, there's some good players in that front line, not just Ronaldo. And I felt like they were just off a little bit today. Now, Bernardo
Silva was off.
Now, I don't know how many passes Portugal had on that one goal, but I think it was 30 something that led to it. If you just watch through that again, it's great stuff. And that's what you want to see from Portugal, what they're certainly capable of doing, and why I do think this Portugal team is better on paper, certainly, than the one that won the championship 5 years ago.
I love talking soccer with you, Grant. I love reading you write about soccer. And best believe I'll be giving you a call when Canada take on the United States next.
Awesome. Thanks, Brandon.
Oh, the Canadian men's national team has just been so exciting to watch since that win over the United States at BMO Field in Toronto back in the fall of 2019. For more Canada talk, check out Footy Prime. Tomorrow, Match Day 2 officially begins with another look at Finland. Now, I cannot imagine what the days must have been like for Finnish players and all of their families after the match against Denmark and watching what happened to Christian Eriksen on the pitch. There will be some real scars there for a long time. Now, I didn't get into it with Grant. I wanted to, but UEFA have a real responsibility here. They have just handled things so poorly from an organizational standpoint on the day, and they continue to. Great chance for Turkey to show that they're better than the side that got thrashed by Italy in the tournament opener on Friday, as Turkey take on Gareth Bale's Wales in the middle game on Wednesday. And then we'll see Italy again as they're back in Rome hosting Switzerland, looking for their 10th straight win. The Azzurri have kept 9 straight clean sheets. My guest Wednesday night will be Luis Miguel Echegaray from CBS Sports. You may have heard his Que Golazo podcast. He'll be on this show, and you best believe we're going to get some Copa America talk in at some point. Subscribe and download this show, Headers and Footers, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on YouTube every night. Thanks for kicking it with us.